Hello, with all the recent developments, both in just the world in general and more specifically to your investments and your financial plan, I wanted to reach out and make sure that you kind of understand and know what I'm thinking and where I stand on my thought process. So, obviously, the investments in the economy are a lot less important than your health and the health of your loved ones. So, that's first and foremost. Obviously, I'm not a health expert, so I'm not going to be able to provide too much insight. I definitely defer to the CDC, any healthcare providers that you work with. So take care of yourself, stay healthy. That's first and foremost before we dive into anything even remotely financially related. Obviously, that's where I add the most value, and that's why we talk as frequently as we do about your financial situation. Is I'm going to be able to help on that financial side of your life. So one thing I want to reassure anyone that's already gone through the whole kind of strategy guide 1.0 process with me, we've actually already kind of accounted for that the market volatility. We already have implemented an investment strategy, which is going to acknowledge that, yep, market volatility exists. It goes up, it goes down. What's your goals? What's your time horizon? And what's your kind of risk tolerance? And how are these things going to feel when these events that are occurring right now actually do occur? So we've definitely removed the risk of anything that was a short-term goal for you. And so don't want you to be too worried about this. Your investments that are invested are going to be more long-term. Anyone who is nearing retirement, I have a few clients that are actually expecting to do that here in the near future. We did implement a process of reducing the risk substantially compared to some of my other clients where retirement's out a few years. So I definitely know that this really hasn't changed that much for you. And so I wanted to make sure that you understood that, and definitely reach out if you have any questions. But with that said, I know it's not a comfortable time. This isn't comfortable in any aspect. If you look at any social media, not to say that anyone's overreacting or making things worse than it should. It's more of just making sure you can control the things that you can control. And the thing I can say confidently is it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the US. These are definitely trying times, and this is important, critical things that need to be done on the personal standpoint in order to help everyone else around us and our loved ones. But yeah, control what you can control. And as far as the long term, once these things do play out, and hopefully they play out more favorably than some of the projections indicate, then the economy will be back to normal. They'll kind of be back on a growth trajectory. If you kind of think about a personal experience in your life where you had some challenges, some setbacks, or it maybe life hasn't been too hard, or things just come easy to you and you haven't really had to deal with those things. Think about someone that has had to. It's more times than not when these challenges, these setbacks occur, it's really an opportunity for growth. And once you kind of break through that kind of uncomfortable situation, the uncomfortable event, it gives you the opportunity to be free to grow, and you have more confidence in some of the things. So that's how the economy actually works too. So it's weird to think about the economy as being a person or having like a life cycle, but they legitimately have economic life cycles. And basically you have huge growth periods, then they reach a trough, and then that runs into a recession. From there, it's kind of like that setback, that personal kind of challenge, and things that occur. Lots of innovation happens, a lot of new ideas, people being put in uncomfortable situations where they have to overcome and kind of grow from that. The economy does the same thing. And so if anything, this actually in a weird way ends up benefiting the economy in the long run by having to go through these things, having to find better efficiencies, better ways of doing things. And so at least on the economic side of things, this could ultimately be better than if it never would have happened, if there wouldn't have been these trying and challenging times. Not to say that this is good in any right, because obviously there's so many things, so many people being affected negatively that we would never wish or plan for this to kind of be the case. So don't kind of misconstrue that aspect of it. But I think that long term, the economy side of things will normalize. They'll actually potentially grow as a greater response to just kind of galvanizing and the creativity and growth that's going to occur as a result. There's also a lot of monetary policies that have already been in place, a lot of support that's already been put in place to support the economy. So that's going to be a huge aspect. And I imagine that those things will only continue. So as needed, those stimuluses and those packages will continue to help support the economy. Hopefully they'll focus in on some of the industries that are going to be most impacted, like airlines, any travel, destination, and those types of experiences are really going to feel the biggest hit, obviously, as a result. And so lastly, I have nothing but total confidence in the growth potential of the economy moving forward in the future. Obviously, in the short term, that's going to be a little volatile, and I want you to be comfortable with that, be comfortable with the idea that this could bounce around. One thing that's important to know too is as far as time in the market, I know a lot of times people want someone to say, hey, get out here, get in here. Those things don't work, and you're more likely to do more damage than you are to actually make positive progress as a result, because Vanguard ran some studies even back as recent as since 2008, 2009 financial crisis, where the trying to time the time out of the market, a good time to get out of the market, might work, but you also miss the times that it makes sense to be in the market. So you actually don't do yourself a service by even timing it the way to get out, because no one knows when to get back in either. And all it takes is a handful of days, just kind of based off of how market returns to end up working out, where you miss a couple of big days over the course of 5 or 10 years, and that could dramatically change your investment performance in a negative way. And so if you miss the upside, then obviously there was no point in trying to time the downside either. And so if you agree with me, if you expect that the US economy is going to be resilient, kind of the human spirit is kind of the way I think about it, is that we overcome challenges and we grow from them, we learn from them, and become better and find ways to do and be better, then there's nothing to be worried about. And so I invite you to schedule time with me, though. Give me a call. I have my cell phone on every email I've ever sent you. So definitely reach out. If you have any questions, we can schedule a time to talk. Obviously, when we do talk, we can talk about the markets. We can talk about coronavirus, whatever you want. But what's really most important is going to be your plans. What you have going on here in the short term, long term. If your goals have changed, where you do have a lot of short term goals that we haven't discussed, then that's definitely worth talking about sooner rather than later, so we can start to set up a game plan for that and stay healthy. Again, referring back to CDC, any other health resources you have to take care of the thing that matters most, which is your health and the health of your loved ones. So reach out anytime.